Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez will be back on the grid again in 2026. Formula 1 fans from all over the world will be watching their performance at the newly started Cadillac F1 team closely for one particular reason. There's a proxy war going on between Team LH and the Verstappens. Although the fights between those two groups have died down somewhat in recent years, the need to prove one driver is better than the other still exists on social media. And it will most definitely pop up again during the 2026 season. But not directly. It will be done through the two former teammates of both champions. Let's dive into the who and what this proxy war is about, and who I think will win out in the end. So what is a proxy war? Well, it's when a war is being fought between two parties, neither of which is officially involved. In this case, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen aren't fighting each other on track for a title or even wins, but their fans focus on two teammates of both drivers. And the winner of this internal Cadillac battle will automatically win for the driver they teamed up with years ago. I hope this makes sense. See, a few years ago Lewis Hamilton claimed Max Verstappen had it easy because he never had the best teammates, as he had in his career. He claimed that Alonso, Button, Rosberg and Bottas were better than the drivers Verstappen was up against. Here's what he actually said. In my personal opinion, Valtteri and all of my teammates have been stronger than the teammates that Max has had. Jensen, Fernando, George, Valtteri, Nico, I've had so many. These guys have all been very strong, very consistent, and Max has not raced against anyone like that. Max didn't say too much about it, other than saying it wasn't a very nice thing to say for those former teammates, and that some of them qualified higher than Hamilton that weekend. I honestly don't know what compelled Lewis to come out with that, to be honest. It was totally unnecessary, and it's all relative anyway. For instance, Jensen Button won his title in 2009 mostly due to a clever trick invented by Ross Brawn. It's very well possible that a driver like Sainz, Perez or Albon would have done the same thing in that situation. Also, seeing how Verstappen was running circles around Nico Rosberg as a teenager in a slower car, it's safe to say that Max Verstappen would not have lost a title to him in 2016. Anyway, this is the sort of discussion I'm talking about. The comments from Lewis Hamilton at the Italian Grand Prix in 2023 only spur these things on. It's interesting on one hand, but kind of unnecessary on the other. In any case, he rated Valtteri Bottas higher than Checo Perez, and that's what we're going to look at here. Valtteri Bottas, a Finnish driver born in 1989, made his Formula 1 debut in 2013 with Williams after serving as their test driver in 2011 and 2012. He scored his first podium in 2014 and achieved several top finishes, including 4th in the 2014 Drivers' Championship. In 2017, Bottas joined Mercedes to replace the retiring Nico Rosberg, partnering with Lewis Hamilton. He quickly adapted, winning his first race in Russia that year and contributing to Mercedes' dominance. His peak came in 2019 and 2020, finishing runner-up in the Drivers' Championship both years, with multiple wins and poles. Over 5 seasons with Mercedes, he secured all 10 of his career victories. Bottas moved to Alfa Romeo stake Kick Sauber in 2022 on a multi-year deal. He performed solidly in 2022, but struggled as the team declined, scoring few points in 2023 and none in 2024. After leaving Sauber at the end of 2024, Bottas served as Mercedes reserve driver in 2025. In August 2025, he signed with the new Cadillac team alongside Sergio Perez for the 2026 debut and beyond. Career stats: 10 wins, 20 poles, 19 fastest laps, 67 podiums. Known for consistency and team support, Bottas returns to full-time racing in the new regulations era. A new challenge for all the drivers on the grid. What I remember from Bottas' time at Mercedes was that he was a very good qualifier. He was up against Lewis Hamilton, who has the most poles in history, but still managed to get the first spot plenty of times. It has to be said that the Mercedes package in the V6 hybrid era was very strong. And it's not for nothing that Mercedes won the Constructors' Championship 8 years in a row. Those cars were planted, and with that powerful engine sped out of corners as no other car on the grid could. Now in race trim things were a little different. I can't remember any daring spectacular overtakes or amazing races where he had some misfortune but still managed to win the race. Max Verstappen won the overtake of the year once with a late dive on the Finnish driver, but Max claimed it didn't count because it was on Bottas. That was a little unhinged, to be fair. I miss that Max sometimes. He's so wholesome now. It's safe to say Bottas was a very solid driver who excelled at qualifying but lacked a bit of pace during races. He knows how a top team is run, and I'm sure he can help Cadillac on its way to 2026 with internal stuff and procedures. I'll talk more about what I expect from him in the results. Let's talk about Sergio Perez first. Sergio Checo Perez, a Mexican driver born in 1990, made his debut in Formula 1 in 2011 with Sauber, where he impressed with podiums in 2012. He moved to McLaren in 2013 but struggled and returned to midfield teams, joining Force India in 2014, which later became Racing Point. There he became known for tyre management and consistency, securing multiple podiums and his first win in the 2020 Sakir Grand Prix, his 190th start, a record at the time. Perez joined Red Bull in 2021 alongside Max Verstappen, playing a key supporting role in Verstappen's 2021 title defense and contributing to Constructors' Championships in 2022 and 2023. He won 5 races with Red Bull, including Monaco 2022 and Singapore 2022, and achieved his first poles and peaked with a runner-up in the 2023 Drivers' Championship. His form dipped sharply in 2024, leading to a mutual parting with Red Bull at season's end despite a contract through 2026. After sitting out 2025, Perez signed with the new Cadillac team in August 2025 for their 2026 debut, partnering Valtteri Bottas in an experienced lineup amid major regulation changes. Career stats: 6 wins, 3 poles, 12 fastest laps, 39 podiums and over 1600 points. Perez holds the record for most starts before a win and a pole, and remains Mexico's most successful F1 driver. Checo, unlike Bottas, spent most of his time in F1 in midfield teams, fighting midfield battles. His qualities are the opposite of those of Bottas, where Perez was never the best qualifier, but always managed to get the most out of races. His driving style was one with more understeer and a balanced setup, which made him very good on his tyres. This is why I never understood why Christian Horner picked him to replace Alex Albon in 2021, besides the Mexican cash he brought in. The cars Red Bull develops are all more based on oversteer, because it's faster. Max Verstappen wants that in the cars, as he can handle the loose rear. Checo, in his time at Red Bull, had to adapt to this way of driving, and besides a very few good races at the start of the season, when the car was more benign, he suffered a lot. Especially when even Verstappen started having trouble with the car in 2024. Red Bull decided to cut him loose, but as it turned out, that wasn't the solution. The drivers who followed him did even worse. It was one of the reasons why Christian Horner was fired. He gave Perez a new contract without running it by the people in Austria, and then sacked him, costing Red Bull something like 18 million. With Checo's experience in midfield teams and a top team like Red Bull, I think he's well equipped to have a good time at Cadillac. The whole lineup of the new American team is one with loads of experience, and I completely understand their choices. However, will it all work out for them? Who will win the Proxy War? Seeing the qualities and issues both drivers have, I've come up with a theory as to why one driver will do better than the other. Let me start with what I expect of the new regulations. There will be a lot of moving parts on the way these cars need to be driven. We have the 50% battery power, which will give the cars a lot of torque, but the energy deployment will become a game in itself. Then there's the question of how competitive the Cadillac team will be in the first place. I personally think that Cadillac, despite all the hype, will struggle to not finish last. They have the Ferrari engine, and from what I've heard, they don't have a trick up their sleeves like Mercedes and Red Bull have with the ratio thing. Then designing a Formula 1 car from scratch is just very difficult. The Audi team, who are also new on the grid, have all the data and experience from the Sauber years, and that ground effect DNA will still come in handy in the 2026 regulations. I'd be surprised if Cadillac doesn't finish last in 2026. This makes the battle between Bottas and Perez hard to rate, but I suppose the qualifying battle and the race head-to-head will count for something as well. I predict Bottas will narrowly beat Perez in the quali head-to-head. I think Bottas will still be able to manage a clean lap with nobody around him to fight with, extracting the most from the package. I think Perez will win it in the races. With a patient strategy and some feisty defending and overtaking, I think Perez will be able to gain more positions and even score a handful of points. We've seen some clever gamemanship from Checo when he defended against Hamilton in Turkey and in the 21 season final in Abu Dhabi. We've seen him go from P20 to a win in Sakir in 2020, albeit due to some Mercedes fumbling and sabotage with George Russell. Checo will put the doubters wrong and he'll win the Proxy War. This is why I think he'll still be in that seat in 2027, whereas Bottas will get replaced by Guan Yu Zhou for the 2027 season. The 2026 season will be full of great narratives to follow, and the Bottas vs Perez battle is one of them. Who do you think will win the Proxy War? Subscribe. Take care now. Doei doei.